Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we are talking about the Washington Capitals and how they have been eliminated from playoff contention, which is so sad because they don't deserve it. You know, they were so close, and really they don't deserve it. Actually, if you look at the stats here and the numbers, they should have made it in if certain things just didn't happen, which I'm already sure you know of. But I'm going to hold on to the end of the video to tell you about it. So let's start off with the numbers, right? So the numbers, 34, 34, and 9 this season. So not the worst record in the world. I mean, definitely needs to be better because obviously they didn't make the playoffs. But the numbers, not really that bad. They have 77 points right now out of 77 games. So whatever there. Not good enough to make the playoff. They're 24th in the NHL at this point, and they're 10 points out of a playoff spot. And even if they win enough games, they'll still be less games. So if the differential, they wouldn't be able to make up the tiebreaker. So that's what eliminates them. So technically speaking, if all the teams in front of them lost every game and the Capitals won their last 5 games, they wouldn't beat them in a tiebreaker because they'd only be able to make 10 more points. They'd tie them with the Islanders or the Panthers. But they have the differential in the wins category, so that's what breaks things up. So, yeah. So that is what finally eliminated them. So they're 20th in the NHL this year in goals for with 238. 20th, not very good. 14th in goals against with 239. So one more goal against them overall, which 14th in the NHL, not the worst, you know, right? That's above halfway. That's technically above average, but it's pretty close to average. So let's just say average, which is passable, I guess. Average is, there's a reason why something's average. It's passable. 15th in the power play this year, 21.4% on the power play. That's pretty good. 15th, you're scoring 21% of the time you're on the power play. That's pretty decent enough. I mean, with the Capitals and Ovechkin, I mean, you got to assume their power play is going to be great. But what is surprising to me this year, kind of with the San Jose Sharks, is they are 5th in penalty kill this year with 82.6%. That is nuts. The Capitals never rubbed me as the type of team that would be excellent on the penalty kill, and here they are, they're 5th in the NHL, so that's good. So looking at the numbers here, defense isn't really the issue. I mean, goals against is passable, penalty kill is pretty good, power play is average, 20th in goals for, though. Now, that is the problem. If you just look at the bare numbers, the bare minimum of the numbers here, it's 238 goals to 239 goals against, right? So if the whole season was just one big game, they're losing by 1 goal, right? And that is the issue, right? And obviously the problem, they have a fine enough defense, but they just don't have enough offense to overcome the lack thereof. Just the lack of defense, the offense to overcome their good defense, which is their biggest issue, which is kind of surprising because with this team, you think of some pretty high-profile guys like Ovechkin. You've got Tom. Oh, wait. That's the issue, and we already know. I know, big surprise, right? Spoiler, that Wilson, Backstrom, and Karlsson, 3 out of their at least top 5, you can say, best players on this team, out for most of this season. Like, more than half of the season, they're out. So, Tom Wilson here, right? Tom Wilson, he comes back immediately, already looks like he's on fire. So far, I mean, not the best. 28 games played, 9 goals for 16 points. Not the best numbers for Tom Wilson, but he's joining in the halfway through the season. He's been out for so long. He hasn't been able to play, and he joins all the way at like the 75% mark of the season. So everyone's already going. They're already hot. They're already not fresh, but they're already, you know, moving. They're up to speed. Wilson coming back 75% way through the season almost. And he's doing pretty decent, 16 points, right? Backstrom coming back, 34 games played this year, 6 goals, 18 points, a little better than Wilson, more games played than him. So once again, these guys getting their legs warmed up while everyone's already off and running. They've been cooking for a while. These guys are just preheating the oven, kind of. And John Karlsson here, 35 games played, 9 goals, 26 points for him. 9 goals for a defenseman in that little amount of time is pretty amazing in my eyes. So he's come back and is just looking pretty good. But I was thinking, right? So obviously, at one point, this team had $40 million on LTIR this season, right? So obviously, we know they're top guys. I mean, how do you if you take any other team, let's just take the the Maple Leafs. That's a perfect actual representation. If you took $40 million from their lineup, that would be Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and you could take in one more player because you could say Nylander, right? Let's just say those 4 guys. You remove those 4 guys from the lineup. You know what? Let's get rid of Matthews because they still had Ovechkin, their best guy. So let's just instead put in Nylander, Tavares, Marner, and Morgan Riley. Let's just say. So you have those 4 guys out of the lineup, and the Maple Leafs aren't going to do very good. And especially in the Maple Leafs circumstances, those 4 guys are kind of the whole point of this team. The Capitals have a little bit of depth, but not a lot that's very good at all. And at least they had some guys jump out this year, like Dylan Strome, looking pretty good, taking up that first centerman mantle, which he's finally done it. Took them long enough. But anyways, the Capitals, though those top guys, I mean, you subtract $40 million from any team's lineup, and there's going to be a huge hole, and it's going to be hard for them. So, given their circumstances, they got pretty damn close to making the playoffs and looking like a halfway decent team with the team that they've been able to stitch together with their missing just those giant hole from that lineup. But here's the thing. So I was like, they got so close to the playoffs. They're 10 points out. They're only 5-game wins away from being tied with being in the playoffs. So they were pretty close just in their situation. But if you give those top guys, those goal scorers, those producers, I mean, John Carlson's great at defense and offense. He's an all-around just amazing defenseman, right? And Backstrom's pretty solid both ways as well. Tom Wilson, obviously he throws in the physical aspect. So you're missing like some pretty core things from these players, but also offense. And like I said, the production from offense wasn't enough to compensate for their good defense, right? They like for every 2 goals the other team scored, they couldn't score more than them, right? Obviously, duh, that's how hockey works. So I was like, okay, simple enough. How many points would these guys, just going off of what they did so far this season, if you just project them over the 82 games, Tom Wilson, if you haven't already read the board, I'm sure you have, 47 points, because he's at like about .57 points per game right now. So if you multiply that by 82 games, you get him at least 47 points. I'd definitely give Tom Wilson 47 points. You got to think if he played the entire season, his legs were warm, and he got a couple lucky streaks throughout the season, you got to think someone like him would go through one of those. You'd at least get him to 47 points, and that's conservative. I'd say he'd at least get to 55. I'd say he almost maybe gets to 60. Nicholas Backstrom, he is kind of on the downfall, and it's a big injury to him, so he's really being slowed down. That new injury, the type of surgeries that had certain players out, I forget who, but was it Lidstrom who had the injury, the same surgery or something, and then he was out forever? Don't quote, I don't remember. But anyways, you project him over it, he gets at least 43 points over 82 games just on the track that he's doing right now with the small sample size we have. So 43 points for Backstrom. You got to think he gets a little bit more than that, helping out Ovechkin. And then also John Carlson. I mean, he's already having a pretty decent year with 26 points in 35 games. You scale that up, he gets at least, and I think with John Carlson he gets more than this, but at least 61 points for John Carlson when he's looking fantastic right now. What could he do the entire season? You add all of that up, you get at least, because I think if they play the entire season, they're going to go through their hot stretches and cold stretches, but they're going to have more time to get those lucky points as well. But just going off the bare minimum of calculations, they're missing 151 points from their lineup, which, I mean, that's like adding like one McDavid to your lineup, right? They're missing an entire McDavid season from their roster, right? So that just right there shows you what the Capitals could have been. They could have been in the top 3 this year. They could have been up there with the Rangers and the Devils and the Hurricanes this season with how good those numbers that they're missing right there are. And that's just what they're missing, right? What else happened this year? Connor Brown's injury. They bring him and they throw him a bone after having a lackluster time in Ottawa. He could have been a decent player. Only played 4 games, so you never know. Lars Eller was just amazingly bad. Would he have like 20 games with no points or something? That was just I mean, I know that's the Capitals, they have him on the team, but like that's just a problem. Orlov, how does he go from being like he's good defenseman in Washington to being Bobby Orlov in the the Boston Bruins, as well as Anthony Mantha not rising up to the challenge like Dylan Strome did. So another younger guy, someone that they brought onto the team hoping to kind of take up a bigger role and just has not done that at all. So those other side problems as well, but you got to think Connor Brown, if Lars Eller wasn't just so bad, those got to help as well. So they're just 10 points shy of the playoffs, and those aspects of Wilson's physicality, his presence, and he can score some goals as well. Nicholas Backstrom, his defensive game as well, and John Carlson just being one of the top defensemen in the entire ever. You got it. Those are huge missing from the game. They were so close. They were so close, and you add just one of those guys. Just have Carlson in for the entire season. That's going to make a world of a difference. So right there, that's what 151 points. I can't stretch that enough. Missing an entire McDavid amount of points from their system. So that's all I got to say. So that is the reason why the Washington Capitals were eliminated. I mean, we know their injuries were the biggest issue, but just to show you just how significant those injuries were, 151 points from the lineup, that is huge. So that is why the Washington Capitals were eliminated. And if you disagree, tell me why down below. Maybe it's because they're just awful, right? Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe so. But anyways, thank you for watching this. Please pick up your free subscription down below. I don't know how much I could ask you to do that, but I'm begging you. And until next time, too sweet. I hope you're having an amazing day. And ta-ta for now.